Pisces, when I sat down with your cards today, the energy that came through was so clear it gave me chills. This is a general reading for entertainment purposes, so take what resonates and leave the rest. But what I'm seeing is a story about someone who fundamentally misunderstood who they were dealing with, someone who thought they could drain you, block you, manipulate you without consequence, someone who is now facing the reality that every wall they built to trap you actually became their own prison. I'm interpreting energy around a person who is treacherous by nature, not someone who made mistakes, but someone whose entire operating system runs on taking from others. They saw your light, and instead of celebrating it, they tried to steal it. They recognized your power, and instead of respecting it, they tried to diminish it. They felt your abundance, and instead of asking how to cultivate their own, they tried to block yours, so you'd stay small enough to control. What they didn't know, what their limited consciousness couldn't perceive, is that you're not someone who can be contained. You're Pisces. You move between worlds they don't even know exist. You carry frequencies they can't access. And when you finally withdrew your presence, you didn't just leave a situation, you removed the only source of light from their self-created darkness. This reading is going to show you exactly what happened, why it happened, who you actually are versus who they thought you were, and where both of you stand now that you've chosen yourself over their toxicity. Let's see what the cards reveal. This card appeared first, and immediately I felt movement, departure, a conscious choice to leave troubled waters behind. The Six of Swords shows someone being guided across water from turbulent shores toward calmer horizons, and what strikes me most is the deliberateness of this journey. You didn't panic and run, Pisces. You reached a point of absolute clarity and made a sovereign decision to preserve your energy. Those six swords standing upright in the boat represent the mental clarity you finally allowed yourself, the truths you stopped avoiding, the reality you quit rewriting to make their behavior acceptable. For how long did you make excuses for this person? How many times did your intuition scream warnings that you overrode with compassion? The Six of Swords marks the moment you stopped betraying yourself to accommodate someone who was betraying you constantly. In practical terms, this was you stopping the responses, ending the explanations, refusing to engage in their manufactured drama. They'd create emergencies designed to pull you back, sob stories calibrated to trigger your empathy. Guilt trips meant to make you question your own boundaries. You got in your boat and started rowing anyway. Every stroke took you further from their chaos, and with each passing day the fog lifted a little more until you could see clearly what you'd been caught in. The emotional landscape here is complex, grief mixed with relief, sadness about what you'd hoped for, combined with deep peace about honoring what actually was. This isn't immature or reactive energy. This is someone who has learned that some waters are too poisoned to swim in, and the most loving act is reaching for different shores. Your departure set everything else in motion, because as long as you stayed accessible, they could keep feeding without facing what they were doing. The moment you left, consequences arrived. When this card came through, I felt immediate chaos, scattered aggression, conflict as a lifestyle rather than an anomaly. The Five of Wands shows figures wielding staffs in what looks like battle but is really just confused, scrambling, fighting without purpose, chaos without resolution. This reveals something crucial about who you were dealing with, Pisces. This person lives in a state of constant conflict. They view relationships as competitions to win, other people as opponents to defeat, life itself as a battlefield where they must constantly prove dominance. They thrive on drama because peace makes them uncomfortable. They manufacture problems because smooth waters force them to face their own emptiness. Every interaction with you was a test. Every conversation carried hidden agendas. Every moment of calm was just set up for the next manufactured crisis. They couldn't simply be with you, they had to challenge, undermine, create friction where none needed to exist. This isn't personal to you. This is their fundamental nature. The Five of Wands shows someone who is treacherous because they're profoundly insecure, someone who drains others because their inner world is barren, someone who creates conflict because stillness would mean confronting their own hollowness. They probably always had multiple dramas happening simultaneously, different people on rotation for attention, a chaotic environment where their true intentions could hide behind general confusion. You likely noticed they perpetually had some crisis, someone they were fighting with, drama they were eager to download onto you. They might have framed this as authenticity or refusing to back down, but really it was addiction to chaos. No matter what you gave, how much you supported, how generously you offered your energy, it was never enough because they weren't trying to build anything. They were just trying to take, to drain, to feed off whatever reactions they could provoke. This card confirms what the reading's theme already told us. They are treacherous by nature. Not good people who made mistakes, but individuals whose entire consciousness operates on extraction, whose survival strategy involves feeding off others, whose relating style is fundamentally parasitic. Something significant is being revealed here about their tactics and intentions. The Five of Pentacles traditionally shows figures in poverty passing by a church window, representing exclusion, hardship, being left out in the cold. In your situation, this card exposes how they actively worked to create feelings of lack in your life. They didn't just passively drain your energy, they strategically tried to make you feel poor in spirit, excluded from opportunities, cut off from abundance that was rightfully yours. They saw doors opening for you and positioned themselves to slam those doors shut. They witnessed opportunities coming your way and spread poison to corrupt those possibilities. They recognized abundance flowing toward you and tried to redirect that stream toward themselves. In practical terms, maybe they talked badly about you to mutual connections while pretending to be your supporter. Perhaps they sabotaged opportunities you were pursuing, gave advice designed to keep you small while they advanced. They might have introduced you to beneficial people, then worked behind the scenes to turn those people against you, or learned about opportunities you wanted and secretly applied themselves or undermined your chances. What's particularly insidious is the creation of artificial scarcity. They wanted you feeling like you were struggling, like you were on the outside looking in, like abundance was just beyond your reach. Why? Because people who feel lack are easier to manipulate, people who feel excluded are more grateful for scraps of attention, people who feel diminished are less likely to recognize their own value and walk away. This was psychological warfare, Pisces. They were messing with your sense of self-worth, trying to convince you that you needed them, that without their presence, you'd be alone in the cold. You probably felt confused about why things kept falling through, why opportunities seemed to evaporate, why you felt increasingly isolated despite genuine efforts to connect and grow. What you likely couldn't see clearly then was their hand in creating these conditions. They blocked everything for you because they feared what you'd become if you had free access to your own blessings. They knew an empowered, abundant, recognized Pisces would have zero need for their toxic presence, so they worked actively to keep you feeling small. But here's what their limited understanding missed. Your value isn't determined by their acknowledgement. Your blessings aren't controlled by their interference, and source energy cannot be blocked by someone operating from such low consciousness. This card appeared, and I felt a surge of victorious energy, of unstoppable momentum, of willpower that overcomes all obstacles. The Chariot shows a figure in armor commanding opposing forces, moving forward with absolute determination and focused intent. This is you, Pisces, the real you that existed beneath the compassionate exterior they mistook for weakness. They saw your kindness and assumed passivity, witnessed your empathy and thought you were naive, experienced your willingness to see the best in people, and believed you were blind to manipulation. They had no idea who you actually are. You're not just a dreamy Pisces floating through life waiting for direction. You're a force of nature when aligned with your true will, unstoppable when you decide on a destination, absolutely formidable when you harness spiritual and material realms simultaneously. The Chariot reveals someone who has mastered balancing opposing forces, who can hold multiple truths at once, who moves through the world with a combination of intuitive wisdom and strategic action that most people cannot comprehend. This is who you've always been, and this is exactly who they failed to recognize when they were busy trying to drain and diminish you. This Chariot energy is what allowed you to leave in the first place. It's the inner strength that said enough, the focused determination that stopped engaging, the disciplined willpower that maintained boundaries even when they deployed every manipulation tactic to pull you back. This card shows someone who might bend but doesn't break, who might retreat to regroup but always advances eventually, who appears soft until certain lines are crossed and then becomes immovable. They pushed you to a point where your warrior aspect emerged from beneath the peaceful waters, where you stopped accommodating and started being sovereign. Your mistake was never weakness, Pisces. It was assuming others operated from the same place of genuine care that you do. Their mistake was catastrophic. They built their entire strategy around an incomplete picture of who you are, seeing only the mystic and missing the warrior entirely, perceiving only the dreamer and overlooking the conqueror, recognizing only the healer and dismissing the fierce protector. When your chariot energy activated, when you harnessed your full power and drove yourself out of their reach, they had no counter strategy because they'd never planned for you to be this strong. When this card appeared, I felt a rush of emotional fulfillment, genuine happiness, real love, and I immediately understood what they were actually trying to steal from you. The Ten of Cups shows a family celebrating beneath a rainbow, representing emotional completion, authentic joy, love manifested in material reality, dreams becoming tangible experience. This is what they were after, Pisces. Not just your time or attention or resources, but this. Your capacity for genuine happiness, your potential for deep fulfillment, your path toward authentic love and emotional abundance. They could sense this frequency in you, this ability to create beautiful emotional realities, this gift for deep connection and meaningful relationships. Because they didn't possess this capability themselves, because their own heart was too corrupted by treachery and manipulation to access real joy, they decided that if they couldn't have it, they'd destroy it in you. The energy theft was targeted specifically at your emotional well-being, your faith in love, your belief in good people and beautiful possibilities. Every time they created drama, they were chipping away at your hope. Every betrayal was designed to make you cynical. Every manufactured chaos in what should have been peaceful was attempting to convince you that the Ten of Cups energy doesn't actually exist, that believing in real love and authentic happiness is naive. They probably mocked your dreams, dismissed your visions of what relationships could be, called you idealistic or unrealistic when you expressed hope for genuine connection. They might have pointed to disappointments and hurt as evidence that your aspirations were foolish. What they were really doing was projecting their own limitations onto you, trying to drag you down to their frequency, where love is transactional, connection is strategic, happiness is always conditional and temporary. What's powerful about seeing the Ten of Cups in this reading is understanding that all their blocking, all their energy theft, all their treacherous behavior couldn't actually destroy this in you. They could obscure it temporarily, create enough pain to make you doubt, generate sufficient suffering to make you question whether staying open was worth it, but they couldn't erase it from your soul's blueprint. Your capacity for deep love, real happiness, and authentic emotional fulfillment survived their attack. It's still there, still intact, still radiating its frequency, and now that you've removed yourself from their draining presence, it's going to flourish in ways that will astonish you. This is your birthright, and they knew it even when you'd temporarily forgotten it while caught in their web. The Empress appeared, and I felt profound creative power, abundance consciousness, someone who literally births realities through their energy and presence. The Empress sits on her throne surrounded by nature's abundance, pregnant with infinite possibilities, embodying the divine feminine's capacity to create, nurture, and manifest. This reveals another dimension of who you actually are that they completely failed to recognize. You're not just emotionally deep, you're creatively generative. You don't just feel things, you transform energy into manifestation. You don't just dream, you bring those dreams through the veil into material reality. The Empress represents your ability to create abundance wherever you direct attention, to nurture things into existence, to channel universal energy into tangible forms. They were deeply threatened by this aspect of you. They saw you creating, manifesting, bringing beauty and abundance into being, and they felt their own barrenness by comparison. Instead of being inspired or asking you to teach them, instead of celebrating your generative nature, they became parasitic. They positioned themselves to feed off what you created rather than developing their own creative connection to source. This probably showed up as them taking credit for your ideas, benefiting from your creative output without acknowledgement, using the abundance you generated while simultaneously blocking you from fully enjoying it yourself. Maybe you originated concepts they then presented as their own, created opportunities or connections they exploited while cutting you out, generated resources or ideas they harvested while ensuring you stayed diminished and dependent. You were literally feeding them, not just emotionally, but creatively and materially. Your generative nature was producing abundance, and they were harvesting it like a parasite harvests from a host, giving nothing back, only taking and depleting. The Empress creates from a connected place, from alignment with natural universal flow. She doesn't force or manipulate, she allows and nurtures. This person cannot access that frequency. They operate from scarcity consciousness, from taking rather than receiving, from manipulation rather than co-creation. They literally cannot generate what you generate because they're not connected to source the way you are. So they tried to stay connected to you, to keep you accessible, to maintain their feeding tube into your creative abundance. When you left, when you took your Empress energy and walked away, you cut off their supply. Now they sit in the desert of their own making, surrounded by walls they built, realizing that everything they had was actually flowing through you, and without your presence they have nothing but their own empty machinations. Temperance appeared, and I got an immediate sense of alchemy, of someone who knows how to blend opposing elements into something entirely new, of mastery over transformation that operates at levels most people never touch. Temperance shows an angel mixing water between two cups, 1 foot on land and 1 in water, representing the ability to move between worlds, to balance material and spiritual, to transmute experiences into wisdom. This reveals yet another layer of who you are that they couldn't comprehend, Pisces. You're not just creative and emotionally deep, you're an alchemist. You take difficult experiences and transform them into growth. You blend shadow and light into integrated wholeness. You navigate between conscious and unconscious with grace that looks effortless but represents profound mastery. While they were busy trying to drain you, trying to block you, trying to diminish you, you were engaged in a completely different process they couldn't perceive. You were learning, integrating, transforming. Every challenge they threw at you, every betrayal, every moment of chaos was being processed by your soul as raw material for evolution. They thought they were breaking you down, but you were breaking through. They thought they were taking from you, but you were learning exactly what you needed about discernment, boundaries, and your own power. The Temperance energy shows someone who doesn't waste anything, who finds wisdom in every experience, who alchemizes poison into medicine. This is deeply Piscean energy at its highest expression, and it's exactly what they couldn't comprehend because they operate from such a lower frequency. They were probably confused about why their manipulations didn't stick, why you kept rising back up, why you maintained some core of self despite their best efforts to fragment you. They might have escalated their tactics, getting more aggressive in their energy theft, because usual methods weren't completely destroying you the way they worked on others. What they didn't understand is that temperance doesn't resist poison by fighting it. Temperance transforms poison by raising its vibration. You weren't just surviving their toxicity, you were transmuting it into self-knowledge. Every lie they told taught you about truth. Every betrayal clarified what loyalty means. Every attempt to block your blessings helped you identify where your real power comes from. You're not a victim of this experience, you're an alchemist who used this experience. That difference is everything. Victims stay stuck in what was done to them. Alchemists transform what was done to them into fuel for their becoming. Take everything you learned from this treacherous connection and integrate it fully now. Let it make you wiser without making you bitter, more discerning without becoming closed, more powerful without becoming cruel. You have the capacity to blend this shadow experience with your light nature and emerge as someone even more whole, even more balanced, even more masterful than before. The Page of Wands appeared, and I felt a spark of new inspiration, of messages arriving, of creative impulses beginning to stir after a period of depletion. The Page of Wands shows a young figure holding a sprouting wand, looking at it with curiosity and excitement, representing new beginnings in the realm of passion, creativity, and inspired action. This is what's happening now that you've removed yourself from that draining dynamic. After the departure, after recognizing their nature, after understanding their tactics, after reclaiming your power and wisdom, you're entering a phase of renewal. Fresh inspiration is entering your field. New ideas are taking shape. Creative projects are calling for attention. Passionate interests are reigniting after being suppressed. The Page of Wands represents the return of your enthusiasm for life, your curiosity about possibilities, your willingness to explore and experiment without the weight of someone else's agenda dragging you down. This card shows what they were actively suppressing in you. Every time you got excited about something, they probably found ways to dampen that excitement. Every time you wanted to try something new, they likely discouraged you or created obstacles. Every time your passion started burning bright, they threw water on it disguised as concern or realism. They needed you dim because your brightness hurt their eyes. They needed you stuck because your movement reminded them of their stagnation. They needed you depleted because your full energy was too powerful for them to control. Now that you've withdrawn your presence, the Page of Wands is emerging like spring after harsh winter. You're probably noticing ideas coming to you again, feeling drawn to creative expression, wanting to try things just for the joy of trying them, experiencing enthusiasm that's not immediately followed by someone's criticism or sabotage. This is your natural state, Pisces, this curiosity and creative exploration. Trust these sparks. Follow these impulses, explore what's calling to you. These aren't random, they're your soul's energy returning now, that it's not being constantly siphoned. The Page of Wands also carries messages, and you might be receiving communication, ideas, or opportunities that feel exciting and new. Pay attention to what arrives, what captures your imagination, what makes you feel that spark of yes. This is your energy theft recovery in action. This is what happens when someone draining you is no longer in your field. You don't just stabilize, you start to thrive in ways that surprise even you. The Ten of Pentacles appeared, and I felt profound legacy energy, lasting abundance, foundations being built that will outlive the moment. The Ten of Pentacles shows a family scene with multiple generations, material wealth, established structures that endure. This card represents everything they tried to steal condensed into one powerful image. Your legacy, your long-term abundance, your capacity to build something that lasts, your inheritance, both material and spiritual. Their energy theft wasn't just about taking your daily energy or current resources. They were trying to prevent you from building your future. The blocking you experienced, the opportunities sabotaged, the connections poisoned, these were all attempts to ensure you couldn't establish the kind of lasting abundance and security that the Ten of Pentacles represents. Why? Because if you built that, if you created that legacy, if you established that foundation, you would never need them. Never look back, never be vulnerable to their manipulation again. They wanted to keep you dependent, struggling, unsure of your future, so you'd always be accessible to their draining. What they didn't know, what they couldn't see through their limited, treacherous perception, is that your Ten of Pentacles is written in your soul's contract. It's not something they could actually prevent, only delay. By showing their true nature, by being so aggressively toxic that you finally walked away, they actually accelerated your path to this lasting abundance because you stopped wasting your generative energy on a connection that was always meant to be temporary. The Ten of Pentacles represents the material stability, family harmony, generational wealth, and established security that's now available to you without their interference. This might show up as career opportunities that actually align with your values, relationships with people who genuinely support your growth, resources flowing to you without strings attached, the feeling of building something real rather than constantly managing someone else's chaos. What's powerful about this card in this position is that it confirms they didn't win. All their blocking, all their scheming, all their energy theft didn't prevent your destiny. It just removed them from participating in your abundance. Shift from scarcity to legacy thinking now. They wanted you focused on survival, on getting through the day, on managing crises they created. The Ten of Pentacles is asking you to think bigger, to consider what you want to build that will last, to make decisions based on your long-term vision rather than immediate circumstances. Invest in foundations now, make choices your future self will thank you for, build with understanding that you're creating something meant to endure. Every connection you make with integrity, every boundary you maintain with strength, every resource you steward with wisdom contributes to a legacy they can never touch because they're no longer in your orbit. The Devil appeared as the final card, and I felt recognition, chains, bondage, someone trapped by their own nature and choices. The Devil shows figures chained at the base of a throne, where a demonic figure sits, but the chains are loose enough to slip off if the figures chose to remove them. This card represents them, Pisces, their current state, their karmic consequence, their self-created prison. Everything we've explored in this reading, the theft, the treachery, the blocking, the draining, this card shows where all of that has led them. They are bound by their own toxicity now. When you left, when you didn't return despite all their attempts to pull you back, they lost more than just access to your energy. They lost their illusion of control, their belief that they could manipulate without consequence, their confidence that they'd always have supply. The Devil represents addiction, and they were addicted to feeding off you, to the drama cycles, to the sense of power they got from controlling and diminishing someone as naturally abundant as you are. Now that you've removed yourself, they're experiencing withdrawal, but instead of doing inner work to heal their parasitic nature, they're looking for new supply, new victims, trying to recreate the dynamic they had with you. What they're discovering is that you were unique, that not everyone has your Empress generativity, your Ten of Cups heart, your Temperance alchemy. They're chained to their own patterns, repeating the same toxic behaviors, burning through connections, wondering why everything feels hollow and empty compared to what they had access to when you were present. The Devil also represents their fundamental nature, the treachery that defines them. This card confirms what the Five of Wands showed earlier. They can't be different because this is who they are at the core. They're bound to deception, manipulation, energy theft, not because they choose it consciously, but because they've made so many choices in that direction that it's become their default programming. They literally don't know how to connect authentically, how to generate their own abundance, how to exist without draining someone. They're probably cycling through the same patterns with new people, creating the same chaos, manufacturing the same crises, stealing the same energy. They might present themselves as changed, as learned, as evolved, but the Devil reveals that the chains remain firmly in place. Their internal prison, the emptiness they feel, the awareness dawning that they destroyed something valuable, the recognition that their own behavior created the isolation they now experience, this is their karma. There's a particular kind of hell in being the Devil, in being trapped by your own worst qualities, in watching opportunities slip away because you can't stop yourself from poisoning them. This is their consequence, precisely calibrated to their actions. They tried to trap you, to chain you, to keep you bound to their toxicity. Instead, they trapped themselves while you walked free. Their chains are not your chains. Their prison is not your prison. Their karma is not your karma. You are free. You took your chariot and drove away. You're building your Ten of Pentacles legacy. You're exploring your Page of Wands passions while they remain exactly where their own choices have placed them. Pisces, these cards have revealed a complete story. You didn't just survive an energy theft. You exposed it, extracted yourself from it, and left the perpetrator to face exactly what they created. They tried to steal your power because they recognized it even if they didn't understand it. They blocked your blessings because they feared what you'd become with full access to your potential. They operated with treachery because that's fundamentally who they are, and they didn't know who you were because people who live in darkness can never truly see those who carry light. But every attempt they made to diminish you actually clarified your strength. Every betrayal taught you discernment. Every blocked door taught you about infinite doors they can't control. You're not the same Pisces who entered that connection. You're wiser, more boundaried, more aware of your own value, more conscious of who deserves access to your energy. The Chariot determination you've developed, the Empress creativity that survived their draining, the Temperance wisdom you've alchemized from the experience, the Ten of Cups capacity that remained intact, the Ten of Pentacles legacy you're now building freely, all of this is yours and they can never touch it again. They sit in their devil chains, bound by their own nature, while you move forward into a future they tried to prevent but actually prepared you for. This is how karma works, not through dramatic revenge or cosmic punishment, but through natural consequences that perfectly mirror the energy put out into the world. They chose theft and got isolation. They chose blocking and got blocked. They chose treachery and lost access to someone genuinely valuable. You chose truth and got freedom. You chose self-preservation and got peace. You chose to honor your worth. And the universe is now matching that frequency with opportunities, connections, and abundance that align with who you actually are. Walk forward with confidence, create with joy, love with wisdom, and trust that everyone who belongs in your Ten of Pentacles legacy will show up with hands that give as much as they receive, with hearts that honor rather than drain, with intentions that align with your highest good.